Okay, hi everyone. So this is Des and I just giving an update on what life looks like for us right now. If you didn't hear, there was an apartment building on Friday evening that was on fire, a five-alarm fire with over 100 firefighters. That was our building. So, um, yeah, we've been pretty displaced since then. It was a fire that started on the eighth floor and spread to the seventh floor and the ninth floor of our building. We live on the seventh floor, so our floor is one of the impacted ones. Um, we left pretty early on when we heard the fire alarm, and so we are physically safe. At least one individual was not so fortunate. There is one person who died on the eighth floor. Um, Yeah, the units 8 and 9 on those floors, 7, 8, and 9, were the ones that are either fully destroyed by fire or partially destroyed by fire. And so, those units are just no longer livable at all. We're in unit 7, so we're right next door to one of the destroyed apartments. Our apartment is fine in regards to fire damage, but in terms of smoke and water damage, our apartment is still no longer livable. And so we are currently living in a hotel. And that's just where we're at right now.
Yeah, in terms of how this experience has been for us on an emotional level, this has been. I think we've been experiencing different feelings of frustration, grief, and also thankfulness. I think a lot of frustration has come because of just the different ways the situation goes. Like you're constantly in a place of there's not always a full set of clarity as to like even while the fire is happening, like knowing how it was impacting us or our apartment or when we could get things. And even right now, as the as the fire and the police do their jobs, there's not a full set of clarity as to when we would be able to even to get back into our apartment or there's not a lot of clarity as to what we know will happen in the apartment building or the future of our future. And so there's just a lot of frustration because we're in a place of constant waiting and not knowing um, yes, not knowing a lot of things, but also like not knowing what to communicate to people like yourself. And so like it's just hard because we know there are a lot of people who care about us and have questions, but we don't really have answers, and we can't really have answers that are clear. And so there's frustration that way. I think there's a lot of grief or at different moments feeling a sense of grief because we didn't know if our apartment would be damaged or not, but also even now, there's a lot of grief because our apartment for us, we intentionally made it a place that was a home, and so in many ways, there's just a lot of sense of grief because um, that feeling of in many ways building a home together is feeling like robbed from us. Just a sense of grief in that way. Just and so in little and big ways, constantly reminded of of the facts that like even the space that we're in, which is good, it's there's still a sense of grief. There's also a sense of grief, especially even for our neighbors, because we're just in terms of how we're coming through this and just the things that we have in. Uh, there's just a sense of seeing the grief for them and some of the things that they have to go through that are, um, they're just even more challenging than ourselves. So there is a sense of just grief um, just grief in that way, and also even grief for ourselves in terms of like certain things we're hoping to do this weekend as a couple. In terms of rest and joy, just not being able to do that, and so that's something we're grieving. Um, but we're also extremely thankful. We're also really thankful for yeah, just a lot of things that we've seen in terms of having like just the firefighters, the police, the work that they did. Thankfulness that, again, our apartment structurally is still intact, and that we were able to go back and get a to-go bag and grab our stuff and have access to our car. Thankful to our that we have tenant insurance, and so there's just our insurance company is covering a fair bit of the cost, a lot of the cost um, that we could have to incur, and so we're just really really thankful for that. We're thankful for our families, and also especially also thankful as Christians, just our spiritual family, just the way people in our local church have just really come alongside us with words of encouragement and finances. Thankful for our because we work for a Christian organization called Power to Change, and just even the immense community that we felt from staff and students with Power to Change. And so we're deeply knowing
Thankful
that
for our friends.
yeah, so thankful for our friends and their calls as well. And so it's then people that are just felt really loved and really cared for. So we're really thankful, and thankful even for this hotel, and just even just the way it's been, and just some of the things we have access to that are helping us to feel a little bit very much more at home than we otherwise could have felt. And so we're really thankful for that. In terms of practical next steps and thinking about for ways that you can be caring for us, um, I think, I guess I'm thinking about 3 or 4 things that you can be doing. I think one, as Christians, we really believe in the power of prayer. And so we just want to encourage you to just be praying for us, because we're just in a lot of, there's so much things that aren't really clear. And so we just really need a lot of time to continue to process how we're feeling as we're processing grief and just the challenges and discernment of our next steps. We just need a lot of wisdom and clarity. So please be praying for us that we just have a lot of wisdom and clarity on what that could look like for us, even just thinking about the next weeks. Like, we just need a lot of wisdom and discernment. Be praying for our neighbors who might not be as privileged as we are to have insurance or access to a community of people that can care for them, and how we can seek to, even as we're processing, thinking through how to care for them. I think secondly, we would just invite you to be really patient with us. I think we know a lot of people that love us and have a lot of questions and want to support us. But I think, one, because there's so much of a lack of clarity, we really don't know the answers to give you. And then at times, as we're processing how we're feeling, we just don't have the emotional capacity to always give an answer, and to give an answer quickly. So we'll just need a lot of patience from you. And also, this has happened in a time where, even for us personally, there are just different mental health challenges that we are also wrestling with personally, even before this happened. And so, like, these 2 things together have been hard. So we just need a lot of patience. So prayer, patience. If you also want to, feel free to send us words of encouragement or affirmation. And so if they're just things you want to text us about your care and love for us, feel free to message us. We'd encourage you to do that, even in specific detail, not just saying, hey, I love you, but even sharing, like, what are some things you actually love and appreciate about us. That would be really, really helpful in this season, if you can do that in detail. And I think the 4th aspect is you can help us out with is, while our insurance will cover a lot of the costs, we do have a $1,000 deductible. So, like, the first $1,000 that we spend in terms of living expenses will have to be covered by us, and then a series of $1,000 that are incurred after, our insurance company will cover. So if that's one way you want to help us, like, financial care would be really helpful and appreciated, and especially just because that's one way you can just be really helpful for us.
I would say either message one of us for our email, and that's something you could send electronically if you want, or if you're not electronically inclined, although I assume you would be if you're seeing this video. You can just contact us for the best way. Um, Based on the generosity of you guys, if we get beyond up $1,000, we'll probably begin directing funds to neighbors who don't have any insurance, and who have really destroyed homes. And so that's something we'll be putting funds towards as well, if that's something you want to participate in. I think that's everything. Y'all have been troopers for the past 10 minutes. So love you and thank you for holding on for this long.